What's up, people? It's Ball Gaming, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about why I think Mage Troops are a great troop to main in the game Call of Dragons, and how to plan your account as a Mage player in this game. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about why you would choose Mages as a main troop, and what makes Mages good in the open field. So looking at Mages, obviously the most beneficial part of playing Mages is purely because of their range. So as you can see, for a Mage Troop, let's go and hit this, for example. You can see the range is really far that you can hit a troop from. And what this means is that during open field combat, you're able to kill enemy troops from quite far away from safety. This is really useful because then you can stay out of harm's way, doing lots of damage without putting yourself in a place to get damage given to you back. The second part of what makes Mages really, really good is simply because of the heroes that you can use. So looking at the heroes, a really good place to start is looking at, for example, what I've got unlocked. So the first legendary mage hero you'll have access to from Golden Keys is the hero Velen, which is probably the best mage hero out in the game right now. Looking at what it does a good amount of skill damage, 1200 damage on its primary skill, as well as a march speed reduction. You have a skill damage booster and a march speed, which is great for the open field. You have crit rate and defense. You have a defense reduction and a march speed reduction to catch them. And on expertise, you get to do even more skill damage. You're looking at an extra 400 damage to bring it up to a nice 1600 damage when you remove the target's frozen effect done by skill 4. So overall, this is an awesome hero. The other heroes which you can access is obviously Lilia, which you can get if you're a spender. And you can also access the two epic heroes, Wardir, which all has amazing synergies with Velen, and also the hero Alan, which I would say isn't as good at this current time. The other key mage heroes which are flying is the hero Thea, which is a shielding kind of skill damage. I like to think of it as a shielding and skill damage boosting kind of hero, sort of it increases the power of whatever hero you put it with. And then Atheist, which is another flying hero, which is only, I would say, mediocre, decent skills, but not a very big rage skill damage at only 800. So that gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the seventh being Indus as a debuff hero for more kind of niche uses. So that gives you 6 heroes you can access right at the rip, which is really nice for someone playing mages. Looking into considerations as a low, mid to high spender focusing mages, I will say as a low spender, you have access to Lilia. So Lilia is a hero you can get from the VIP packages, starting from the very first one over here, gives you the unlock. But obviously you'll have to spend quite a decent amount in order to get it fully unlocked all the way up to here. There is 235 tokens on the last one. There's 175 tokens and 110, etc., etc. So you will have to spend a decent amount, around 300 to 400 to max Lilia. If you're a non-spender and you're completely free to play, I would say that you can't use Lilia at all, which is a huge downside. So if that was the case, maybe going full mages might not be for you, as Lilia is such a staple in the early game and even towards Season 2 Plus, which I'm currently in. As a mid to high spender, obviously mages is quite good. I would say definitely as a mid spender, as you can max the Lilia. You can work on dailies for Velen to get him maxed, and then you have the 2 backup purple heroes to use, as well as Thea as a good flying kind of buffing mage hero. As a high spender, I would say that both mages and archers are quite viable. Having Syndrion, Freyga, Hoss, and Kunara in the game makes archers also extremely viable, but their key downside is the lack of range. So if you aren't playing T5 and can't take advantage of archers' crazy counterattack damage, I would say that mages are still a really, really good option, both for T5 and T4 players, but particularly for T4 players who can then use the mage's range to stay out of the range of T5 players trying to hit you, so you can kite in and out of a fight very efficiently. Looking into hero token economy, saving, and power creep, and why this makes mages really good, I would say that one of the most important things you can do right now is stop spending your gold hero tokens. So these are the hero tokens right here. I would say try and save them for as long as possible. We know that given the current rotation of heroes, the next Mage Heroes, as confirmed by the developers, are expected in Season 3. We're currently in Season 2+, and I've been saving hero tokens from probably about Season 1+. I used quite a decent amount of tokens into my Velen, so if we look at this, you can see that I have used 107 tokens to use my Velen maxing process so far, and I only maxed Velen recently on the previous video in Season 2+. I would have preferred actually to keep these if I had known that I was going to be saving so many tokens. The reason why is because you want to get these tokens ready for the next Mage Heroes coming. So, in about 40 days, 50 days, our season will be over. Season 3 will then bring the new Mage Heroes, and I can use all these tokens, just let me just show you, all these saved tokens into the new hero pair, or whichever one I think is better for mages. And that will then round out my Mage March very efficiently. So right now, I would say stop spending your hero tokens on random legendary heroes and save them all for one burst of power where you can really get a good hero to a good amount of power. Looking at hero pairs and combinations, the best hero pair in the game currently for mages would be, I would say, Lilia Velen. So you can see my Lilia Velen right here. I've maxed both. I would say that's probably the best one that you've got. So let's bring that out again and show you. So you can see right here, both maxed. The second mage pair that I really like to use in the open field is my Flying March, Thea and Atheist. So before we do that, let's put a skill on that actually that I've recently managed to get up to. Nice, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I really like the attack bonus and the hero skill damage taken reduction for pure tankiness. So a 5-5-1-1 Thea is very viable, and obviously a 5-5-2-3-4 whatever you can get is also really good. I'll say the first 3 skills are the best skills, so if you haven't unlocked this skill, the 4th skill yet, I would leave it unlocked and try to get the first 3 skills maxed if possible, if you're a mid to high spender. So let's bring out my Thea right now. So my Thea Atheist March sort of is a good kind of long-term, very tanky damage march, whereas this is more of a glass cannon kind of march. The third viable mage march right now, which I use, is my Waldir Alwyn, which I haven't really worked on too much just yet. Does a decent amount of skill damage, also does some debuffs, but isn't as good as the first 2, obviously. The last hero you can use is, as I said, Thea, which some people like to use, but I wouldn't worry about using a hero that does debuffing unless you're quite powerful and have enough troops to sustain it. I would try to stick to 1 or 2 marches if you're a low to mid spender, and obviously if you're a whale, you can use as many marches as you like. So looking into what other combinations you can do other than the 3 that I've got here, some people do like to, and I'll just quickly show you, split up the legendary heroes. So what that you can do is, instead of going Lilia Velen, you might do like a Lilia and, for example, a Thea, right? I've seen this quite a lot. Or you might do a Lilia and an Atheist, because Lilia and Atheist, the Atheist provides a really good amount of rage regen, which allows Lilia to fire off more skills. So you might do a Lilia Atheist, right? And then you might use sorry about this, you might use a Velen and a Thea for more tankiness as well. So this is how I've seen some people split it. Note that with Lilia, the talent tree is more skill focused, whereas Velen is more of a control focus. I don't really like this as much. I prefer to front load my damage on my Lilia Velen as much as possible. So going into talents, the Lilia talent tree is quite self-explanatory. I'll put it up right now. You can see this is pretty standard. March speed and health, and then going directly into skill damage and rage, doing more skill damage, and then going into your crit rate and your crit damage as well. And I like to use just this one for extra damage. Although if you're T5, Thirst of Blood isn't as good, I would say Cage Animal is better, as your march survives longer and might be able to get up to that maximum 8%. And then on the magic tree secondary, going into health, march speed, hero skill damage, and usually Death Pen is what I like to use. Your Velen talent tree, I would say go control tree, so similar to Phoenicia's talents, Lilia, March Speed, and then Rage, and then going down into the debuffs and the Reticent skill, which does silencing as well. The magic secondary is the same, March Speed and hero skill damage. So that's what I would do. And looking into what I like to use for artifacts, you can see I do have all the key mage artifacts unlocked. I have my Phoenix Eye, which is only level 1, unfortunately. A Tear of Arben, which is a pretty nice level 3. -3, +3 damage, which is quite nice. And finally, my most favorite artifact in the game, the Infernal Flame, which is fully maxed, which I managed to do this season, which I'm very happy about. And the way this is paired is I use my Infernal Flame on Lilia Velen. It's a no-brainer, given that it's the best mage artifact in the game, I would say right now, and it synergizes perfectly with the Scorch that Lilia does, giving you an extra magic attack 30% for 5 seconds, which is huge. And the Scorch effect you can see is right here on the main skill. On the secondary march, which is my flying march, I like to use Visage of the Sanctus, which is the dedicated flying, quite tanky artifact for the Thea Atheist March. I really like it. It does a lot of good sustained damage, although if you weren't considering this, you can also use the Phoenix Eye, which does a lot of damage, less tanky, and also has a nice burst skill. On my third Mage March, which is my Waldir and Alwyn, and on a side note, use the same talent tree as Lilia for Waldir as a skill-based champion. I like to use Tear of Arbon. I like the healing for sustain. I find the Phoenix Eye to be underwhelming on this march because it dies too fast. Although obviously when you're T5 it's a little bit better. And you can also see I have it level 3, which gives me that nice -3 damage taken and +3 damage dealt. In terms of best pets for mages, there's 2 options you've got. You've got your Sapphire Phaedrakes, which I have quite a few of by now, and all 1 star. Or you might go for the Storm Lizard, and I'll just show what it looks like quickly while we're here. That is, the Thunder Lizard. That's the second type you can get, right? And the third type you can get, finally, is the Ice Lizard, which synergizes well with Velen as well. But in my opinion, you should just always go for the Sapphire Phaedrake. I feel like as mages it does the most damage and synergizes best with your kit. So my best pet right now for mages is my 1-star Sapphire Phaedrake, which I named Articuno. It has a lot of good skills, which I'll go into on the next video. And then my secondary march has my also 1-star Sapphire Phaedrake, and my third march has a 1-star Sapphire Phaedrake as well. So that's what I would use for pets. And finally, going into why I think mages are a good option and what troops you should do. As you can see, I have, look at some severely wounded. So I have around 620 Vestals. Can also use Celestials. And in the T5 unlock process, you can see that you're able to unlock T5 mages as a first troop. And Celestials take ages to unlock because you have to unlock all T5 first before unlocking Celestials, which can take a long time as a low to mid spender. Obviously, as a whale, this isn't a problem. So if you're a low to mid spender, I would suggest training a lot of Vestals, because when you finally get T5, you can upgrade all of these T5 mages and be very, very powerful straight away. However, if you are a whale, I would say going in on Celestials, if you're using my faction, which I'll show, is a really good option because Celestials give you an extra attack boost, which I can show you right here. So Vestals, the base stat is 220 magic attack, right? And going into Celestials, the base stat gives you 251 magic attack for this faction. Celestials are a much better mage troop, and you can use Celestials with both flying and non-flying marches. So technically, you could, for example, pull out your Lilia Velen, right, which is what I see a lot of people do, and use it with Celestials, and that gives it the extra mage attack stat, which boosts really, really well. So as I said, to recap, as a whale, train a heap of Celestials, unlock Celestials 5, and then go crazy training them. If you're a T4 player, still getting T5, and you're a mid to low spender, go in on Vestals, train a lot of these, so you can then convert them all to T5 a bit later. Lastly but not least, I think the best faction for playing mages is League of Order, and the reason why obviously is you get an extra 3% magic defense, and you get a Flying Legion, which is a magic range legion to use with Thea Atheist. So that's a pretty much a no-brainer for me. You get to use Vestals and the Flying Celestials for all your mage marches, which is super, super nice. We know Celestials are the most powerful mage troop in the game. A secondary way you could play the game is to play in Spring Wardens. Now the reason why I think this is because Spring Wardens gives you a really good boost on your elixir production speed, so if you're fighting a lot, having this is really, really nice. Obviously the only issue is you will be using, these as your magic march. Unfortunately, the flying legions become cavalry, so you can't use the flying march with your your atheist and Thea march. So you have to use Longleaf Treants, and I would say that the defense buff is not necessarily as good as the previous because, as you know, these gives you HP, and HP is the best, I would say, defensive stat in the game. So that's how I would play all of this. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and like and subscribe to the video if you liked what you're watching. All the best in open field, and I hope you take my advice as a mage player. But don't forget, archers are amazing as well, particularly if you're T5, because they are a beast for counter attack. Enjoy the game and hope to see you playing in the open field. Peace.